Ready to open the hood? UseTool for the tutorials.
And for car parts, the right idea is the Mr. Auto app. Easy, fast, and with better prices than on the website.
You will find the bulk shock absorbers used in the video exclusively on the Mr. Auto website and through the link in the description. Turn your engine off, pull up the handbrake, pull on the bonnet release lever and open the bonnet. To remove the front shock absorbers, you need to remove the half windscreen frame to access the suspension strut support bearings. Remove the half windscreen frame. Remove the protective cover from the strut mount fronts. Using a 7mm Allen key and a 21mm offset wrench, unscrew the nut holding the suspension strut support bearing by a few threads. You can also use the specific tool used in the video, which will make your task much easier. Loosen the stud bolts on the front wheels. You must remove the wheels in order to change the front shock absorbers on your car. This will give you full access to the suspension system. Lift the front of the vehicle. Place the vehicle on the axle stands. We strongly suggest watching the tutorial, raising your vehicle safely before carrying out this step. Don't forget to slide them under the vehicle. Ask someone to press the brake to prevent the disc and drivetrain from rotating. Next, using a breaker bar and an M14 Triple square socket, loosen the drivetrain nut by a few threads. During this operation, you will be working on the front axle of your car, so it's advisable to perform a parallelism afterwards. Remove the nut. You now have to remove the upper ball from the sway bar link. To do this, take a 16mm spanner and a T30 Torx key. Stop the rotation of the ball joint with a Torx socket and remove the nut using the spanner. Using a flathead screwdriver, remove the brake hose retaining clip. Remove the brake hose from its housing. Remove the ABS sensor cable. Using a socket wrench, an 18mm socket, a breaker bar and an M14 Triple square socket, unscrew the nut holding the shock absorber base. Then remove the bolt. Brush the 3 nuts holding the suspension ball joint and spray them with penetrating oil. Unscrew the 3 fixing nuts on the suspension ball joint using a socket wrench and a 16mm socket. Disengage the ball joint from the control arm. Then remove the drive shaft from the hub. Prepare a stable elevated surface to place all the stub axle once you've removed it. Brush the bottom of the shock absorber and spray it with penetrating oil. This will help with the future manipulations. You can spread the opening of the stub axle using the special socket used in the video, which will make your job much easier. Disconnect the shock absorber base from the stub axle. Finish unscrewing the suspension strut support bearing nut. Hold the shock absorber with one hand and finish unscrewing with the other. Remove the shock absorber. In order to change the shock absorber, you must now separate it from the spring. You can find the description of the tool we used in the video, which we think is most adapted to the operation. Careful, pay attention as you compress the spring. This is not without risk, and should be undertaken paying very careful attention. Install the shock absorber on the tool, then tighten the mobile flange against the spring, controlling its position carefully. Check that they're properly held by the locking studs, then slowly compress the spring using the socket wrench and the appropriate socket. Once the shock absorber is free in the spring, you can use a 21mm offset wrench and a 7mm Allen key to unscrew the suspension strut support bearing. You can also use the specific tool used in the video, which will make your task much easier. In the most extreme cases, you have to use an impact wrench. Then remove the suspension strut support bearing assembly. Remove the shock absorber from the spring.
Okay, guys, if we can share this video with you and help you save a lot of money, is also thanks to our partner, Mr. Auto. So, if you want to support us and buy the part for this operation, visit their website. Okay, back to work.
You will find the bulk shock absorbers used in the video exclusively on the Mr. Auto website and through the link in the description. Unscrew the lock nut on the stem. Before installing the new shock absorbers, it is necessary to prime them by pressing the shock absorber rod vertically so that the gas and the hydraulic fluid are separated. Then install the shock absorber stop, the protective sleeve, position everything in the spring. Then install the upper shock absorber support, the turning stop plate, the shock absorber mount, and finish by screwing the nut on the shock absorber mount. Tightly fix in place using a 21mm offset wrench while holding the stem with a 7mm Allen key. Pay careful attention to place the bottom of the spring so that it supports the shock absorber flange. Unscrew the spring compression tool, paying attention to the position of the spring on the lower shock absorber support. You have now finished preparing the new part. Insert the shock absorber starting from the top part. Put the upper support bearing back in place, then screw the nut holding the strut mount front back on by hand first. Sand and grease the inside of the stub axle to help facilitate the reinsertion of the shock absorber. Grease the shock absorber base. Thread the shock absorber base into the stub axle. The lower position and pin of the shock absorber base must be inserted into the opening of the axle stub until the tab of the pin allows the axle stub screw to pass through. Remove the special socket. Then reinstall the shock absorber foot screw. Start to screw the nut in a little. Insert the drive shaft into the stub axle. Reinstall the suspension ball joint in the control arm. Screw in the 3 nuts holding the control arm on the ball joint and finish tightening with a Torx wrench. Screw the foot of the screw back into the shock absorber. Finish up the tightening with a Torx wrench. Clip the ABS sensor hose back back in. Reinstall the brake hose then lock it. Put the sway bar link back in place. Finish off the tightening with the torque wrench. Roughly screw the drivetrain nut back on. Ask someone to press the brake pedal. Finish off the tightening with the torque wrench. Then you will be able to put the wheels back on your vehicle. Put the car back on the ground and block the wheels securely. Remove the central cover from the hubcap, then add the recommended torque angle of the drivetrain nut using the paint marker technique to confirm the correct angle. Then put the cover back on the nut. Finish screwing the nut on the shock absorber head. Finish off the tightening with the torque wrench. Put the rubber protection back in place. Put the half windscreen frame back in place. Operation completed.
Hi, it's Theo from UseTool. I hope this video has helped you a lot in your car maintenance. We would be super grateful if you could spread the word so that we can produce even more tutorials. Simply give us a like, a comment, and hit that subscribe button. It really helps us boost the channel and help the whole community. Thanks a lot and have a great one.